Hi there Seeker, I'm Bronya from Wild Lotus Tarot, and today I'd love to share with you my story of awakening and how I answered my deepest calling. In fact, putting my story up here on my website is the first time I have shared my full story. So, like any good story, let's get started from the beginning. I have always believed in magic, and my story starts very young, in fact under 10 years old. I'd say around about 7 or 8 years old. My memories are of my older sister and I going to our school library and getting out all the books on witches and vampires and ghosts. We'd mark up the pages and send Dad along to work to photocopy the pages so we could colour them in. It was a real fascination for me into the weird and wonderful. I have a moon in Scorpio, so I'm drawn to shadow work and the really deep themes of existence. I've always asked myself the questions like, why are we here? What is my purpose? And what happens to us beyond death? When I was 13 years old, my mum took me along to an evening of angels and the spiritual realm. It was the early to mid-90s, so it was before the internet boom and most definitely a long time before social media. So it must have been a little display ad in the corner of the local paper. And it was kind of edgy for that time. So along we went, and the lady presenting explained all about the journey of the soul, angels, the spiritual planes, and although there was part of my little mind that was completely blown, there was a deeper part of my soul that just felt it was confirmation for what I already knew, and it most definitely sparked a big thirst for spirituality in me. Fast forward a couple of years, and one night I was falling asleep. I was in that state in between when you're just very deeply relaxed, and I felt a massive explosion of energy in my body. It was like somebody going down the keys of a piano. The ripple went from the tips of my toes to my crown. And then a blazing inferno of heat started at the base of my spine and started moving upwards. I was absolutely terrified and I had no idea what was happening to me. I thought, do I call out for my mum? But I'm 15, it's not really the dumb thing. And I was terrified that when this heat got to my brain, that it would fry my circuits and kill me. I was also totally in the rapture of the most euphoric bliss that I'd ever felt. And it was lifting me so high that I could almost not breathe against it. And I would find out later that I was having a full spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And that energy obviously left out my crown, and I was left wondering what on earth I had experienced. The next morning I was like, I really feel like I want to talk to my parents, my family. Has anyone else had this experience? But something told me to keep quiet about it, and I did. And I actually ended up suppressing that memory for almost 20 years. In the time after my awakening, I started to get very deep insights into some of those questions I asked. I was also able to perceive energy, especially energy in people, quite deeply. And I also entered what I call my lost years. I was extremely emotionally sensitive and really felt quite disillusioned with life and the world. I headed off to university at the tender age of 17, leaving home and heading to New Zealand's capital city to complete a 4-year degree. It was a Bachelor of Design in Interior Architecture. During that time, while all my peers were out getting drunk and meeting partners and making lifelong friends, I spent most of my time alone in deep introspection and reflection of what I had gone through. After I finished uni, I embarked on what would be an almost 20-year career in the digital media industry. It was very fast-paced, and although I loved the skills that I used, design and writing and user experience, I was very, very unfulfilled on a deeper level. And I started seeking during that time. I'd go off and stay at yoga ashrams, and I also travelled India extensively looking for spiritual knowledge, but I was looking outside of myself. I ended up completely burnt out from my career and really disconnected from my heart. And I wondered why, because I'd made it. I was very successful. I had won industry awards, I had a 6-figure salary, and yet I was deeply unhappy and deeply unfulfilled. I wanted to be on purpose. So one night, in a plea of desperation, while lying in bed again, I asked the universe for help. I said, "Put me on my path, universe, and do whatever it takes. But you better make it big, because there's a part of me that's addicted to this lifestyle." Just 2 months later, when I was out walking one evening, I was ambushed by an attacker and I experienced a very violent crime. I knew the moment that I looked into that attacker's eyes that this is what I had asked the universe for, and although it seemed like a cruel experience at the time, I knew this was a turning point in my destiny, and if I could just make it out alive, my life would change forever, and it did. What followed that experience was a 5-year dark night of the soul, where my physical health completely broke down while I was dealing with that trauma. I also became very spiritually activated again, and I started searching for answers. I found that there was a link between trauma and spiritual awakening, and I discovered the Kundalini awakening and what it meant. However, then I remembered my experience, and the memory came back to me. I realized I had already had a Kundalini awakening. However, my trauma had activated my sense of spirituality even deeper, and I started having mystical experiences at this point. My main mystical experience was seeing and hearing tribal women calling my soul home and calling me to purpose. I was on a mission to align to my purpose and also to heal myself. So during that time, I got certified in plant-based nutrition, which is the lifestyle I follow and was fundamental in my healing journey. I also became a Reiki energy healer, and that opened up my connection to spirit even more. Recently, I have trained as a certified love, relating and embodiment coach, and that's something that I draw on quite heavily when I give the love readings. At the beginning of 2019, through a unique set of synchronicities, I found myself with my first deck of tarot cards in my hands. It was not something that I had done before at all. Sure, I'd had friends when I was younger read my cards, but it was us sitting around with a Celtic cross and looking up the descriptions in the book. It wasn't intuitive tarot at all. So I went off and I did a half-day workshop in tarot. However, my soul already knew how to read the cards. They asked to speak through me, and I knew their wisdom. And now, Seeker, I pass that wisdom on to you.